I took my daughter-in-law's phone for repair, then a shocking truth was revealed in 30 seconds. Jack Thompson sat in the dimly lit waiting area of the phone repair shop, tension curling within him like a tight noose. He had taken Mia's broken phone in this morning, seeking an opportunity to connect with her on some level as he grappled with the emptiness left by his late wife. The weight of his new reality loomed over him, and the thought of impressing Mia felt precarious, like walking a tightrope stretched over a void. Was this step towards bridging the chasm created by loss or merely an exercise in futility? As he sipped his bitter coffee, glancing around at the scattered posters promoting the latest gadgets, a notification pinged from Mia's phone on the counter. The casual sound sent a ripple of curiosity through him, curiosity that morphed into a dark impulse one he couldn't resist. It wasn't like him to pry, but the unease wrestled with reason, the urge to discover battling against his core belief in trust. With one furtive glance, he could slip into a truth he might not be ready for. 30 seconds. That's all it took to plunge him into chaos. Messages flickered across the screen, hinting at an insidious betrayal, conversations about underhanded dealings with her father's influential law firm, a scheme that threatened Jason's hard-earned legacy. Jack's heart raced, and a heavy tremor coursed through him. How could Mia, the bright spark who brought laughter into their home, do this? The pain of loss twisted in his chest, now all but eclipsed by the betrayal he could hardly grasp. Flashbacks of family dinners and laughter switched to thoughts of confrontation, each mental image morphing into a threat against what he held dear. Honesty, loyalty, integrity, these weren't just words inscribed on his father's old hardware store sign, they were the very foundation of who he was. But here he was, teetering on the edge of a devastating moral dilemma. Should he confront Mia, unraveling the fragile thread weaving their disparate families together, or shield Jason from the truth, possibly prolonging a grave deception? He could already feel the consequences of either choice weighing heavy against his skin. The thoughts swirled, overlapping and colliding. Jason's bright future, their hard-earned bond, the steadfast legacy of his father, all threatened by Mia's hidden agenda. Jack's muscles tensed, a visceral mixture of anger and protective instinct turning his stomach. Was he back in a place of mourning, or had he wandered into a different, deeper layer of grief? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As tension coiled tighter, Jack steeled himself for the confrontation, bracing for potential fallout. The door swung open, snapping him back to the present, as Mia walked in, her smile radiant as the sun filtering through the glass. She leaned over the counter to retrieve her phone, blissfully unaware of the tempest raging in his heart. Jack's breath caught. Could he blast through the facade of normalcy and bring chaos to the modest family life he cherished? Their eyes locked, and his throat constricted as the weight of everything untold hung in the air between them. What would he do? The truth loomed larger than ever, the rift between love and loyalty yawning wide, ready to consume them both. Jack's mind buzzed with turmoil, a turbulent mix of emotions clashing as he prepared to navigate the delicate web of family ties and personal ethics. Mia's easy demeanor made it all the more challenging. Her laughter had once felt like a balm, a lightness that buoyed his aching heart, but now it wrapped around him like a noose. In that moment of eye contact, he felt the world around them fade, clarity sharpening with each tick of the clock. "Hey, Jack," Mia said, her cheerful tone almost mocking in its innocence. "Thanks for picking up my phone. I really appreciate it." The words settled like lead in his stomach. He could respond with pleasantries, zip through their usual chatter about mundane matters. Yet the growing insincerity of their interactions gnawed at him. "Of course, Mia," he managed, forcing a smile through clenched teeth. "No problem at all." He feared the lies he was about to build and the facade he might wear, but there was something more pressing beneath the surface. Beneath Mia's smiles lay vast territories of deception that, if explored recklessly, could tear them apart. As she continued with light banter, Jack's thoughts drifted further inward, probing his own uncertainty. What right did he have to unravel her secrets? Would exposing Mia's betrayal merely fracture Jason's world without yielding any clarity? Yet just as painfully, could he allow the deception to persist, knowing Jason, his son, was being led into a pit of darkness? In that waiting area, shadows drifted across the walls, mirroring the uncertainty that shadowed Jack's spirit. He caught Mia's eye once more, trying to read the nuances of her expression. Was there guilt hidden behind that smile? I need to ask you something, he broke in, the words slipping from his lips before he could pull them back. His heart thrummed loudly in his ears, anticipation curling into dread as he prepared to face whatever truth awaited on the other side of his query. Her brows furrowed, shifting the air between them, a weighty pause forming. Sure, what's up? Jack inhaled deeply, the implications of his words crashing over him. I saw some messages on your phone, he said cautiously, the next moment stretching interminably before him. They didn't sound good. Are you involved in something with your dad's firm? Mia's eyes widened. For an instant, vulnerability edged out her confident mask, a flicker revealing something raw underneath. Jack, I can explain, she started, but he held up a hand, feeling the balance of power shift. I need the truth, Mia. This isn't just about you and me anymore, he snapped, feeling the urgency build. It's about Jason and our family. If there is something happening, we have to deal with it together. Her facade wavered, and for the first time, Jack saw the fragility in her posture. Anxiety settled across her face, the brightness dimming as comprehension dawned. You don't understand, then help me understand. I'm trying to protect him. The heat of his voice surprised even him, but he could not bear the thought of standing idly by any longer. As silence enveloped them, Jack felt time freeze, the enormity of this moment igniting a rush of clarity. Confrontation meant reclaiming his place in a world unsure of its ground. He was pushing for truth, inviting change even if the consequences were chaotic. But as he stood there, poised at the precipice, the realization struck like a lightning bolt. Mia was about to unveil her darker truth, one that could redefine everything he believed about her and about himself. Jack took a step forward, intent on unraveling the truth, steeling himself for an outcome that was as uncertain as it was inevitable. What if everything he thought he knew about Mia and himself was about to crumble? The moment of truth was dawning, and as the tension prickled in the air, he held his breath, ready for the revelation that would surge forth. Would it set them on a path of healing, or would it plunge them into further disarray? The only certainty was the chaos of the truth waiting to immerse them both. The air thickened with uncertainty as Mia hesitated, exhaling deeply before gathering the remnants of her composure. Jack's heart raced, flooding his mind with a torrent of questions. What could she possibly say that would justify the clandestine messages? Would her confession unlock the door to understanding or cram them into a stagnant corner of betrayal? Jack, you have to trust me, Mia finally uttered, the tremor in her voice betraying her veneer of calm. It's not what you think. His brow furrowed, the tension in his shoulders coiling tighter. Trust? What did trust mean anymore, overshadowed by lies and the very real ramifications of their choices? What I think? Everything points to you being involved in something deeply unethical, something that could hurt Jason. How can I trust you? Because I haven't done anything wrong. She took a step closer, her eyes searching his, portraying desperation mingled with defiance. The messages are about business strategies, not illegal activities. Please, hear me out. A flood of skepticism coursed through him. Could she really be innocent amidst a quagmire of deceit? And yet, that vulnerability, a flicker of authenticity beneath her composed exterior, made him hesitate. Jack clenched his fists, grappling with the pull of buried compassion versus protective instinct. Then explain yourself. Mia drew another breath, gathering strength. My father, he's been taking risks. I saw things, papers, documentation, things that indicate his firm isn't being as ethical as he promised me. I thought if I could help him, I could bring some balance. I didn't want to drag Jason into this mess. Sudden waves of dread crashed over Jack as he wrestled with this new information. Did her motives stem from loyalty or naivety? Was it possible she genuinely believed she was helping? But the gravity of the choices being made rang loud and clear. So you're mixed up in it then. You're at the center of this deception without even realizing how deep the waters are, he replied, the disappointment sharp in his voice. The memories swarmed back, moments of laughter, their families merging, and the simplicity of wanting to believe in goodness. But that innocence felt ripped to shreds now. You're risking everything for him? What about Jason? What about us? Mia opened her mouth to protest, but he pressed on, genuine frustration igniting his resolve. You need to come clean, not only to me but to your father. If there is something corrupt, it needs addressing. This isn't just about safeguarding your family name anymore, it's about Jason's future and integrity. Her silence hung heavily, a chasm of inconclusiveness that made Jack's resolve waver, any sense of certainty slipping through his fingers. He had never imagined they would tread this treacherous ground when they had first confessed their love for each other, believing they were embarking on a path of promise. Mia's eyes glistened with unshed tears, but they only intensified Jack's turmoil. He couldn't be the one to define the parameters of her experience, but would she rise to reclaim her autonomy? What if he dismisses the truth? What if he sees me as a traitor instead of his daughter? Mia said, her vulnerability breaking through the tough exterior she had put up. Then we face that together, Jack said firmly. But you have to decide if you value loyalty to your father over loyalty to your son. The challenge hung thick between them, an invitation to redefine boundaries while uncovering layers of truth. Jack felt a strange thrill pulse within him, an unsettling mix of fear and expectation hijacking his heart. He realized that this moment would shape not only Mia's path but potentially his own, setting them on contradictory trajectories with stakes too high to ignore. As Mia contemplated his words, Jack's own thoughts churned with the possibilities, each scenario unfolding with ominous potential. He needed to take control, yet the prospect of facing Jason with this knowledge loomed over him like a storm cloud. As Mia's silence urged them both toward a decision, Jack grappled with the impending confrontation that awaited him. The unsettling reality lingered like a specter within him. Could he really embrace the chaos of this truth, and what might be at stake for them all? Mia finally whispered, I need time to think. Time is the one thing we don't have, he replied coldly, already feeling the urgency clawing at him. As both of them stood on the precipice of potential betrayal and revelation, Jack resolved that they had two choices: stay in the shadows of deceit or step into the unforgiving light of truth together. The choice was his, but would it bind them or shatter their fragile alliances? In that ambiguous silence, decisions loomed gargantuan, and in that space, Jack felt time slipping away again. What would be the consequence of pushing for the truth? Jack felt a sharp pang in his gut as Mia's words hung uncomfortably in the air. Time was slipping like sand through his fingers, and the weight of her indecision pressed heavily on his chest. He had assumed love would simplify their lives, but now it felt like an anchoring force holding them in the murky depths of uncertainty. I can't believe you would gamble so much, he said finally, his voice barely above a whisper, birthed from a cauldron of disbelief and hurt. All this for a man who might drag you into his abyss? Mia's silence felt like an admission of guilt, and with it came the realization that he had little choice but to navigate this storm himself. Drawing from a well of strength he didn't know existed, Jack made a decision. They had to draw a line. He wouldn't let Mia plunge any deeper into her father's dubious waters. Perhaps their best move was to forge their own path away from familial loyalty. Listen, if you are willing to risk everything without clarity, I can't follow you blindly, he stated, his voice stronger, more resolute. We need to confront your father not just for us but for Jason. He deserves better than to grow up within a legacy tainted by deceit. Mia's gaze darted away, and relief mixed with anguish washed over Jack. He caught glimpses of the woman he loved, determined, yet anchored by her father's shadow. Might there still be a flicker of the rebellious spirit he admired? You have more strength than you show, Mia. You can do this, he urged, infused with a sense of urgency. But deep down, Jack grappled with self-doubt. His mind echoed with the risks of defiance. What if Mia's father turned against them? What if their love was only a facade, an illusion masking a greater truth they both denied? The stakes were brutal, forcing Jack into the role of a catalyst. He wouldn't shy away. He shifted in place, an inner storm brewing, wrestling with possible outcomes. Buttoning up his jacket, he took a step toward her, creating a deliberate space between them physically and emotionally. You might stay loyal to him or to the truth. What can you live with? She studied him, her expressive eyes hardening, revealing her conflict. Jack knew her layers, understood the essence that anchored her: desire for approval, fear of confrontation. Would she let those fears inhibit her growth, or would she rise above the chaos? The realization struck with a mix of dread and clarity. Jack had to prepare. Confrontation with Mia's father wouldn't be straightforward, and the weight of pressure would inevitably lead to ruin or revelation. He envisioned himself standing tall, advocating for Jason's future, yet he also feared the repercussions awaiting them if he was wrong. Mia, he hesitated, searching her face for understanding. You need to make the call. Are you willing to fight for your son, even if it means standing against your father? Mia's expression flickered, a spark of determination igniting behind her wavering confidence. I don't know if I can, then I will, he declared, each word a step toward resolution. I'll do whatever it takes to shield Jason. But I need to know you'll back me up. The tension collided between them, raw and electric. Jack's heart raced, but he stood firm, ready to scale whatever emotional walls might arise. He recognized the shift, his resolve bolstering her will, perhaps igniting a new chapter of courage within her spirit, a necessary evolution for both of them. Suddenly, Jack's phone buzzed, jolting him from the imminent confrontation as his heart skipped a beat. It was a message from Jason. The words flickered before his eyes. Dad, what's happening? I'm worried about Mom. That single text sent chills down his spine. The reality of Jason's perspective loomed over him like a reality check, forcing Jack to confront the implications of inaction. Could he risk waiting any longer? The momentum had shifted, and they couldn't afford to hesitate any further. The confluence of truth and loyalty was now inevitable, and the consequences would ripple throughout their lives. Mia reached toward him, her hand brushing lightly against his, as if seeking warmth in the light of uncertainty. Jack grasped her fingers with a newfound determination, ready to embrace the chaos that lay ahead. Together, they would face whatever storm awaited. But the echo of Jason's message rang in his ears. Did they even have enough time to prepare for what was coming next? Whatever lay ahead would require more than just courage, it would demand an unwavering commitment to change. Would that commitment be enough to secure their family's future? And as the storm within swelled around them, Jack couldn't help but wonder if the impending confrontation could solidify their bond or tear them apart completely. Jack's breath quickened as he read and reread Jason's message, the weight of it pressing down on him like a heavy snowfall. He felt Mia's warmth beside him, contrasting sharply with the icy torrent of fear coursing through him. The moment felt like the calm before a thunderous storm. He had always been the steady one, taking pride in his capacity to buffer chaos with resolve. But this was different. Can we talk to him? Mia's voice pulled him from his spiraling thoughts, her expression fraught with urgency. Maybe he can convince me that this is worth fighting for. Jack considered this. Jason was smart, perceptive. Had he overheard? Did he sense the looming darkness enveloping them all? I don't want him to be drawn into this mess. He shouldn't have to bear the burden of our decisions, he replied, his voice steady yet uncertain. It was a tightrope walk, protecting Jason while ensuring that Mia understood the gravity of their situation. He deserves to know what's at stake, Mia insisted, her hand tightening around his. He could feel the tremor in her fingers, reminding him of how frail they all were, teetering on the edge of uncertain futures. All right. But it has to be about hope, not conflict, Jack conceded, crafting a makeshift plan to bring Jason into their fragile equation. Their son had the right to understand the reality, to recognize the importance of self-advocacy in a world governed by dangerous paternalism. While they prepared to reach out to Jason, Jack's focus sharpened. This confrontation was not simply about familial ties, it was a reckoning for Mia, an opening to determine her identity amidst the struggle between loyalty and truth. He felt the urgency of her growth pulsating just beneath the surface, waiting to be unleashed. "Let us meet up at the cafe after school. It's neutral ground, we can talk openly there," he advised, constructing a plan that allowed a shield of public safety to cloak the impending emotional upheaval. As they sent a message to Jason, anticipation mingled with anxiety. Jack could almost taste the impending confrontation, their responsibilities swirling around him like a tempest. As the minutes passed, the inkling of doubt crept back in. What if Jason didn't understand? What if he resented them for their choices? Jack needed to reinforce his own resolve. He grabbed Mia's shoulders, searching her eyes. "You are not alone in this. We do what we must for Jason's sake, together." The conviction behind his words was a balm to his own frayed nerves. The reality struck again. This wasn't just about Mia's father, but also about how the fibers of their family would knit together in the face of turmoil, enabling growth through disruption. Did Mia have it in her to confront the legacy of lies, the abyss that had all but swallowed her whole? Jack had assumed love was enough to conquer fears, yet it was becoming so clear that action was their only ally. Time felt suspended as they awaited Jason's reply. Each buzz of the phone sent a jolt through Jack. And then, it came a simple acknowledgement, "Okay." It was overwhelming and frightening, the path they had chosen, but also oddly liberating. Mia's grip tightened around his fingers again, and for the first time, Jack felt a current of hope surge within him. "Whatever happens today, know that we are making a stand," he stated firmly, allowing his previous doubts to dissolve into determination. Now it was clear, the confrontation awaited, but it would empower them to forge a new narrative. But as they gathered their thoughts, an unsettling thought whispered through Jack's mind. Was this confrontation merely the first skirmish, a precipice before the real battle reduced them to fragments? The piece of their story that would ultimately reshape their family dynamic was yet to unravel. As they ventured toward the cafe, Jack steeled himself, both exhilarated and frightened. Would they emerge as a unified family, or would the encounter reveal deeper fractures that could drive a wedge between them all? The answer loomed just ahead, a volatile force ready to challenge everything they believed in. The cafe buzzed with a casual hum, customers absorbed in their chatter, oblivious to the storm gathering within Jack and Mia. The vibrant aroma of coffee clashed with the unease brewing in Jack's stomach. He surveyed the room, searching for a sense of calm to anchor his spiraling thoughts, but instead, he felt the sharp edge of anxiety gnawing at him. "Do you really think this will help?" Mia's voice anchored him to the moment, laced with doubt. Her eyes flickered around the room, taking in the clinking cups and steam rising, yet her mind was far from the cafe's comfort. Her vulnerability made Jack intensely aware of the stakes involved. This conversation wasn't just a bridge, it was a fulcrum that could shift everything. Jack swirled his coffee, not yet touching it, the heat seeping through the ceramic, mirroring his inner turmoil. "It has to be better than what we've been doing," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. He had to project strength. "Going into this together is the only way to break through the walls that have been built." He caught her gaze, hoping to instill some confidence, even as doubt shadowed his own heart. When Jason arrived, the atmosphere shifted palpably. He walked in with that familiar casualness, a backpack slung over one shoulder, but Jack could see the flicker of caution in his eyes. As their son approached, Jack's heart raced. This was a pivotal moment, every choice made would ripple outwards, long after they left the cafe. "Mia," Jason acknowledged, before his gaze landed on Jack, and the warmth evaporated. "What is going on?" "Hey, bud," Jack started, but the familiarity felt cumbersome, as though they were now strangers standing on a precipice, balanced between past affections and uncharted territory. Mia initiated their united front, her voice breaking slightly yet holding a firm edge. "We need to talk about your grandfather," she said, her words hanging in the air, heavy with implication. Jason's face transformed, curiosity morphing into concern. "Is it about the yes?" Mia cut him off. "It's about everything. I think it's time you knew what's been happening." Her vulnerability tugged at the strings of Jack's heart, a fierce reminder of the weight they all carried. As she spoke, Jack watched the emotions flicker across Jason's face: confusion, shock, and finally, an understanding dawning like the first light of day. The truths, each sharper than knives, sliced through the protective fog Jason had been raised in. Jack felt pride swell in his chest. Mia was finally summoning the courage to confront her reality. Each word she shared was a link being forged anew between them, a testament to struggle and resilience. Jason's attention shifted, and he asked the questions Jack secretly feared yet hoped would be posed. Why didn't you say anything sooner? All this time his incredulity opened the door to deeper conversations, unearthing anger and hurt Jack had never anticipated. I thought I was protecting you, Mia replied, her voice steady, yet Jack could sense the tremor beneath. But I see now that it just kept us in a cycle of silence. It was a revelation not just for Jason but for all of them. Jack felt his own resolve strengthen. This was the moment they stepped into the light. His role morphed from protector to partner in the pursuit of honesty. Yet as the conversations deepened, Jack could hear the hints of resentment surfacing, unearthing buried fears within Jason about his place in the family, questioning whether love was enough to heal these chasms. With each word, the fabric of Jack's carefully constructed ideals began to unravel. I can't believe it, I don't even know who you are anymore, Jason said with rising emotion. Jack could see the battle rage within his son, a collision of anger and betrayal, the kind that drives families apart. Jason, wait, Jack pleaded, but reality had already shifted. They had unleashed the truths of their entangled lives, and a new confrontation loomed, suggesting that they were only at the beginning of an upheaval. As they sat in that cafe, a bubble of tension simmered above them, and Jack realized this was not merely a conversation about the past, it was a crucible for their futures. Would the truth foster understanding, or would it fracture what little unity they had left? In the face of Jason's rising resentment, Jack's breathing quickened. He suddenly grasped that what lay ahead might be far more challenging than he had prepared for. Each decision they made now reverberated through time, leading them toward an unpredictable future. With determination hardening within him, Jack couldn't help but conclude that this was only the beginning. The family they had known was being torn down, but what might emerge from the ashes could reshape their lives. Yet that glimmer of hope was fleeting against the backdrop of a brewing storm. Was this confrontation the catalyst for healing, or merely the prelude to devastation? The answer loomed ominously over them as they faced unresolved tensions, breathing life into their evolving narrative. Jack's mind raced with the revelations pouring out of Mia. The atmosphere in the cafe felt charged, each look exchanged between Mia and Jason echoing with a multitude of unspoken words. He realized that this moment was a fork in the road, one that would redefine their family dynamics and test the fragile threads of trust that connected them. Let us just take a breath, he urged, trying to inject some calm into the simmering tension. They needed to navigate this with intention, yet the voices in his head clashed with his desire for control. He locked eyes with Mia, silently asking for her support. She nodded, a small gesture that provided him a flicker of strength. Jason's gaze remained icy, his walls firmly erected as he crossed his arms. I can't believe this is how I find out, he spat. The anger simmering beneath his cool exterior was undeniable. Jack braced himself for the aftermath of their honesty, knowing they had exposed much more than family secrets. They had peeled back layers of pain they each carried. Pushing through his own unease, Jack leaned forward, his voice lower but firm. We know this isn't easy, Jason. But maybe it's time we address everything what you're feeling, what we've been avoiding. Address everything? What does that even mean? Jason shot back, resentment raw in his words. Jack felt the sting of his son's anger but wasn't deterred. This was the moment for raw honesty, even if it would push them further into the abyss of discomfort. It means we need to listen to each other, to really hear what everyone's been holding in. You're not alone in this. Mia added, you think this is just about your grandfather? It's about us, too. We've all been carrying burdens, and we owe it to ourselves to share our truths. Jason uncrossed his arms, his posture shifting slightly. The vulnerability was palpable. But the flicker of hope sparked by Mia's words was overshadowed by the resentment still simmering in the air. You both should have told me from the start. Now I don't know what to believe or who to trust. Jack felt the sting of Jason's words like a dagger. He couldn't blame him, not entirely. They had sheltered him from the raw realities of their lives, but doing so had only bred secrecy, mistrust, and pent-up anger. I own that, Jack said, his voice steady. Choosing silence over honesty only put up walls that kept us apart. We didn't know how to share our truths without hurting you or each other. Jason processed this, his brows knitting together as he searched for the deeper meanings embedded beneath their explanations. Could he accept that Jack's protective instincts had been a flawed approach? In that moment, Jack sensed a flicker of realization in Jason. The little boy seeking safety from a perceived threat now confronted the adult truths of his parents' choices. Mia, you've been telling me everything was fine. And now I find out. Jason's voice cracked, the rage spilling over as regret washed over him. Jack's heart broke again. We thought we were protecting you, but we were wrong, Mia confessed, tears glistening in her eyes while Jack fought his own wave of emotion. It's unfair to expect you to feel okay with everything we've hidden. As Jason absorbed that, Jack observed him closely, wondering if the boy he knew still resided beneath this mask of anger. Their relationship had abruptly changed, yet Jack realized that this was a pivotal moment, an opportunity for rebirth rather than demise. What if we really try to understand one another? He proposed softly, the urgency in his voice ripe with the hope of new beginnings. What if we let this moment rebuild us instead of tear us apart? Jason shuffled slightly, uncertainty battling with the instinct to protect what remained of his childhood innocence. I don't know if I can forgive you yet, he mumbled, vulnerability creeping into his voice. I don't expect forgiveness, Jack replied earnestly, but I do ask for the chance to try. The air thickened with potential, the silence stretching taut as they weighed their next steps carefully. Facing raw honesty was daunting, but Jack felt emboldened, for within this turmoil lay the seeds of healing. He could feel the weight of their history slowly shifting. Just then, an unsettling thought brushed against Jack's mind. What if confronting the past unearthed deeper issues long buried? As he looked back at Jason's uncertain face, a gnawing fear gripped him. Would the path they were choosing reveal consequences beyond their understanding? He knew they were on the edge of a revelation that could fracture everything or serve as the foundation for growth. What hidden truths lay buried beneath their shared pain, waiting to converge on this fragile moment? Only time would tell as they prepared to peel back the layers of their complicated lives. Jack's conscience churned with unresolved doubts as he prepared to dive deeper into the emotional abyss. This was not just a conversation, it was a turning point, a crucible forged in pain yet tempered by the glimmers of hope. He took a moment to gather his thoughts, the weight of his role pressing heavily on his shoulders. What if this was a chance not only to heal Jason but to learn something crucial about himself? He focused on Mia, her eyes reflecting both apprehension and tenderness. Together, they had built a life meant to shield their son from harsh truths, but it was becoming painfully clear that this fortress of silence had only invited mistrust. Jack glanced back to Jason, readying himself for another round of honesty, determined to turn this misunderstanding into an opportunity for growth. Jason, he began, his heart pounding in his chest, I realize now that what we thought was protecting you may have only kept us prisoners of our own choices. I don't want to be imprisoned any longer. Mia nodded, her own conviction building. Let us commit to a new kind of honesty. We owe that to ourselves and to you. This facade can't last, it's only breeding resentment. Jason softened, the initial fire slowly diminishing. And what if honesty just makes everything worse? His voice was quieter now, less defiant. Jack sensed the vulnerability surfacing and pressed on. It's possible it might, but it's also possible that this raw honesty could be what brings us closer. We need to confront our fears if we want to heal. A shudder coursed through Jason at the mention of fear, and Jack couldn't help but reflect on how many secrets had fueled Jason's resentment. Were they not all afraid of truths, of pain, of each other? The weight of their admission lingered in the air, giving shape to the unsaid. Maybe we were all scared, Jack continued, leaning forward as though trying to bridge the gap. What if we started from that place of fear? What if we learned to uncover secrets as a united front? Jason's eyes flickered with interest, the harsh lines of anger beginning to soften. What do you mean, united front? It's not about us against you, or you against us. It's about all of us, together, facing whatever burdens we have. Healing can start here, but only if we're open to the discomfort. Jack felt his voice rise, fueled by purpose. From across the table, Mia leaned in, her expression one of encouragement. We all have scars, she said, but perhaps it's time to share those stories with one another instead of hiding them away. The world isn't a perfect place, and we each bear burdens. Let us find solace in that shared experience. Jason's brow furrowed as he considered their words. Jack could almost see the wheels turning in his son's mind. And what if there are more secrets, things that could tear us apart? That's a risk we need to take, Jack replied, feeling the fierce determination surge within him. Staying locked away in our own pain keeps us from living fully. It's time to embrace vulnerability. It's time for us all to be honest about where we stand. Taking a deep breath, Jack felt an exhilarating mix of fear and hope. This was a pivotal moment, but it was also a reminder of the fragility that existed within them. As they each considered the possibility of secret truths, Jack wondered what they would ultimately find, the rewards or the wreckage. He thought of the deeper, hidden uncertainties lurking behind Jason's anger. Let us build a space where honesty can thrive, no matter how painful, Mia suggested, voice steady but laden with emotion. Jason nodded slowly, still processing the weight of their shared journey. Jack smoothed his clammy hands on the table, readying for revelations he hoped would help bind them all closer together. Yet a gnawing feeling loomed. Every act of open honesty opened the doors to new vulnerabilities. Before we dive deeper, we need to establish one thing, Jack said, feeling an unexpected surge of urgency. Are we truly ready to confront what lies beneath the surface? The question hung in the air, thick with anticipation. Jack wondered what unspoken truths would emerge next and how they would unravel the fabric of their family bond. Would the path lead to reconciliation, or fracture them further apart? His heart raced. Where would this wild honesty lead them? Jason shifted in his chair, every muscle in his body tense, as though the weight of the moment threatened to collapse him under its pressure. Jack could see confusion etched on his son's face. It was a window into the storm of his emotions. Was Jason wrestling with pride, fear, or a mixture of both? Jack needed to understand. To plumb these depths more profoundly, his own growth depended on it. Taking a calculated breath, Jack forged ahead, brushing aside the echo of his insecurities. We've been grappling with our fears alone for too long. What if opening up about our struggles becomes the bonding experience we desperately need? I'm ready to share mine. Mia placed a hand over Jack's, her touch steadying. I am too, she encouraged softly, her voice unwavering. We'll do this together. Jason's brow furrowed deeper, a physical manifestation of his wrestling thoughts. But what if it destroys everything? He whispered, as if the admission might make the words more bearable. The question hung in the air, heavy with potential. Jack recognized this as a pivotal moment not only for Jason but for himself. He faced a crossroads where he could either double down on the familiar territory of safety or brave the unfamiliar landscape of vulnerability. He knew what he had to do. Then we rebuild, Jack replied firmly, the determination weaving through his words. We've built walls to shield ourselves, but maybe now it's time to create paths to each other. This fear of destruction is a choice we make daily when we remain silent. I don't want that choice anymore. Jason hesitated, glancing at both parents as if searching for signs of deceit or hidden agendas. Jack's heart pounded, each passing second felt like swift sand slipping through an hourglass, running thin. What would it take to unravel the tightly knit fabric of Jason's anger? In that moment, Jack sensed a shift in the room, a tentative crack forming in the bewilderment clouding Jason's demeanor. You're serious about this? Jason asked, almost incredulous, his defenses lowering for just an instant. More than ever, Jack affirmed. I want you to understand that honesty sometimes hurts, but it can also heal wounds we never thought could close. And it must start with us laying bare our truths. As Jack spoke, he felt the contours of his own past unearthing within him, burdens long held that now rattled against the cage created by avoidance. Bits of shame, regret, and unaddressed fears rose in his mind. What could his family learn from his own shadows? Before he could lose his nerve, he continued. There's something I've never said before. Perhaps I've been too scared to. I've made decisions that I once thought protected you, Jason, but they often protected me first. The admission felt like ripping open old scars, his voice quivering just slightly. Mia squeezed his hand, grounding him. We're all in this together, she reminded Jack and Jason, her voice echoing the invitation to share. Jason leaned in, curiosity flickering in his eyes, yet the storm still roiled within. What decisions? Jack's throat tightened, knowing that with each response they were strengthening their connection but also bearing his vulnerability wide open. I made choices based on what I believed was best for us, without consulting you. And I didn't account for how that would affect your understanding of our family, our honesty. I thought I knew better. I get that, Jason interrupted, both frustration and understanding wrestled for dominance on his face. But it's not just about you, Dad. You think you can just change the rules now? Jack could feel the resolute impact of their shared pain permeating the air. Yes, they were treading on a precipice, one that hung over unsteady ground, but what swelled between them was the potential for clarity and healing. He was not expecting to make everything right in one conversation, but perhaps they could map out the beginnings of a different dynamic. It's about realizing that my way is not the only way, Jack replied, vulnerability sharpening his voice. I want to grow beyond who I was, to become a better father, not just through my expectations, but by leaning into this discomfort with you. I want to unlock whatever potential lies hidden beneath. Jack felt the stirrings of hope flare within him. Jason's expression shifted, confusion evident but yielding to the palpable vulnerability filling the room. As this emotional crucible heated, Jack wondered if they were finally on the cusp of breaking the chains of the past that had long held them captive. But as he observed Jason's eyes, Jack pondered silently, was this surge of raw honesty illuminating the chasms between them or merely casting shadows on buried secrets yet to emerge? The weight of uncharted territory loomed ahead, and with that tension came the electrifying question of whether they would embrace the light or retreat into the dark once again. Are we ready to expose what really lurks behind our facades? Jack voiced, challenging not only Jason but himself, fueled by uncertainty and faint glimmers of possibility. The weight of anticipation pressed heavily as Jack awaited Jason's response. The room felt charged with unspoken fears, and Jack sensed that the moment was ripe for monumental change, yet fraught with the risks of unraveling buried truths. Jason finally looked at his father, and for the first time, there was a glimmer of understanding behind the veil of confusion. I guess we all have our own facades, don't we? Jason said, a quiver of vulnerability rising in his tone. I'm not perfect either, Dad. Maybe I've been hiding some stuff from you too. The admission was like a breath of fresh air. It inspired Jack to lean deeper into the approach of honesty, realizing that this exploration was not just a one-sided endeavor. That's the essence of this, isn't it? Jack replied, encouraged by Jason's willingness to open up. Let's dismantle those facades together, not just for the sake of honesty but to build a relationship we can be proud of. Mia nodded, her eyes shining with teary hope. We are all far from perfect. But I believe that acknowledging our imperfections can actually make us whole. It's time we support one another in confronting the shame that kept us apart. Jack took a deep breath, feeling the exhilaration of shared vulnerability envelop them like a warm blanket. What's been unsaid between us, the fears and secrets, are the stones we've buried. Maybe it's time to lift them and see what lies beneath. Jason met his father's gaze, clarity breaking through the clouds of confusion. Sure, I've been worried. I'm tired of feeling like I have to pretend everything is fine. Sometimes I just want to scream. Then scream. Jack encouraged, a smile breaking through. Talk to us honestly about what you're feeling. That's the only way we can begin to heal this rift. Jason paused, a myriad of emotions shifting across his face. It's just difficult. I don't want to lose you both. The idea of us crumbling apart scares the hell out of me. Staring into his son's eyes, Jack felt an avalanche of understanding. Jason, that fear is valid. But we're here, right now, choosing to confront it together. We're already breaking that cycle of silence that has haunted us for too long. The resolve in both Jason and Mia's expressions bolstered Jack's confidence. This single moment marked a significant shift in their lives. Life beyond facades could usher in the full embrace of their true selves. Can we promise each other that moving forward, we will communicate, no matter how hard it gets? Jack proposed, his pulse racing with anticipation. Jason took a moment, then nodded, tentative but resolute. Yeah, I can do that. But it has to be real. No more sweeping things under the rug. Mia squeezed Jack's hand gently, sharing in this newfound momentum. We'll be honest with each other, and when things get tough, we'll talk it out. We owe that to ourselves. Jack felt a rush of gratitude flooding through him. Witnessing Jason's willingness to engage at this level was everything Jack had yearned for. This was not merely about honesty, it was about a commitment to a family foundation fortified in trust and understanding. They each exhaled deeply, a collective breath breaking the tension. Jack finally lifted his cup of coffee, taking a sip as he allowed the comfort of their conversation to seep into him. He felt lighter, liberated in a way he hadn't anticipated. But as they sat together, Jack's heart couldn't shake the lingering question: what truths remained buried beneath the surface? Would this be the catalyst for uncovering the insecurities that swirled within each of them, or only the beginning of the unraveling? He could sense the potential for their bond to deepen, yet it coexisted with the uncertainty of exposing more painful truths. They needed to be ready. As Jack pondered, they shared moments of laughter mixed with thoughtful disclosures. Stories of confusion and misunderstanding filled the air. Jason shared his frustrations with expectations around school and peer pressure, while Mia opened up about her fears of inadequacy within the family. Jack contributed his share, painting the image of how he had felt isolated in grief since losing his wife, exacerbating the silence that had set in over years. By focusing on mutual vulnerability, the conversation morphed into an exploration of connection. Jack watched as barriers began to shatter. What once felt insurmountable now appeared surmountable through honest dialogue. As their meeting wound down, Jack garnered the strength to lead them to a decision point. Perhaps we can set up regular family meetings, a space where we're free to share our thoughts and feelings, unfiltered. Will you commit to that? Absolutely, Mia replied with fervor. The warmth of her voice reached Jack, igniting a surge of hope within him. Yeah, I'm in, Jason agreed, a nod accompanying his declaration. In that moment of consensus, Jack felt a wave of relief wash over him. They could face the world, avowing to fortify their bond, embracing vulnerability as their guide going forward. As they departed the cafe, Jack knew this was only the beginning. They had ignited a path toward genuine connections and resilience. They stood poised on the edge of deeper revelations yet to come, but now, they faced them united. Jack stepped outside, taking a moment to breathe deeply. The world felt different, more vibrant, accessible, and filled with possibilities. He couldn't help but feel a flush of confidence as he realized they had embraced the chaos together, ready to carve out a new narrative defined by transparency and trust. With newfound clarity ringing through him, Jack resolved to pursue the future, free from the shadows of the past. They would continue to confront the hard truths, but now with hope, unity, and courage propelling them forward. It was a promise fulfilled, an uncharted journey toward healing and an affirmation of the authenticity he had once afraid to embrace. This was profound transformation. Jack had shed old layers, emerging into the light of hope, a solid confidence that he was not only a protector but an invested partner in their collective journey. And the best part, they were moving forward together. This was just the beginning. Now, here's the decisive moment. You need to subscribe now to catch the next exclusive emotional stories that breathe life into transforming journeys like this. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure our community grows. I want to know your reactions and theories about this conclusion, so comment below and join the conversation. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful message of growth and unity. Let us spread the inspiration far and wide.